Hello, Armoured Pants here, and I have another video for you. This is the American line, the Tier 3, the M5 Stuart, and this is a complete guide. And I hope you've already looked at the previous two tanks in this line and that you're familiar with those. And now let's have a look at the Tier 3. As always, we're looking at the tech spec in blitzhanger.com. Now, this tank is a light tank. It has 370 hit points, and what's unusual about it is it has an autoloader gun. And the autoloader gun has 3 shells in the magazine, and this actually requires a sort of different gameplay. I reviewed the autoloader before in the previous tier. If you're not familiar with it, go back and have a look at that, but we will do a quick recap here. Now, the other thing to notice, and a big step from tier 2, is that you're going to use different shell types. You have AP and APCR. What is the difference between AP and APCR? It's very simple. I'll explain it very simply. APCR has lower damage per shell but higher penetration. So why do you need that, and when do you use it? Well, you need it because if you're up against tanks with heavy armour, you will need the APCR, you need the extra pen from them to penetrate. When do you need it? When you see red on a tank that you're trying to hit and your normal AP round won't go through, switch to APCR. You open your shell selector, tap on APCR, it will load it into the gun automatically, and then you fire that and it should go through. So that's basic mechanics of using APCR versus AP. Let's have a look at the armour profile of this tank now. As we can see, it has some armour on the front. The purple gun mantlet is impenetrable. The rest of the turret is penetrable, but it's very small targets, so difficult to hit. And you can see on the lower mantlet, the lower part, the lower cupola on the tank, is difficult to pen as red and dark orange, so that's difficult to pen. And you see here against tier 2s and tier 3s, and this lower part of the armour on the tank, the lower plate is difficult to pen. And looking here at the difference between being front on and being at an angle, this is called angling. When you move the tank slightly to an angle, you create angles of the armour, which effectively makes it thicker and more difficult to pen. This is why when we're in brawls, etc., that we move the tank from side to side, and we move the tank to create those angles, because when it's flat on, it's much easier to pen. We create angles and make it more difficult to pen. We've discussed that in other videos, and you should be familiar with it by now, but if not, simple rule: don't have the armour front on, move it to a slight angle, 45 degrees, and you will create much thicker armour and more difficult to pen. Now, that's the tank. The tank is very fast too, and we're going to use that to this effect on this map. It's just 4 to spare, so pay attention to tactics here, because as I said before, this is a map that you will use most frequently, along with Mirage, when you're on the lower tiers. Now, what I'm going to do here, I am using the engine accelerator. I am busting a gut. I'm going to get through here. I'm not going to stop here where most people do in this game. You can see here I am going hell for leather. What am I doing? Well, I'm going to use this hill here, which is sort of center, to spot the enemy, which is helping my team and also helping myself. I get XP for that. Now, I've spotted up a number of enemy tanks there. I roll back to keep myself safe. I'm using the natural inclines of that hill to keep myself safe. Now, that LTP is pushed up and he's able to get one round into my butt, but I'm using the wall now and the inclines. I'm using cover to stay safe but keep the enemy spotted up. And this was really helping my team, and I'm also able to get in a couple of shots there and do a little bit of damage. But my main objective here was to spot up the enemy. Spotting up the enemy creates a huge advantage for your team versus the enemy. We've discussed spotting before, but just a quick recap on that, because it's quite important here, and it's what I really did in this game. By the way, I decided now to relocate from here because I'm going to relocate in a second, because I've done as much as I can in terms of spotting and I'm not really that useful anymore. All the enemy are spotted up, so I decided to move off to the right. Why is spotting important? Well, when you spot the enemy, you relay their position to all of your teammates, so everyone on your team can see them, even if they are not in direct line of sight with them. So it's electronically relayed to them, so they see everybody that you've spotted. However, your teammates remain unspotted, and that means that they can put damage into enemy tanks without actually receiving damage, because the enemy can't see them. So if you go front on, you may get spotted, but if you spot up all the enemy tanks, it means all 7 of your teammates know where the enemy are and can fire upon them, and the enemy only knows where you are, and the rest of your teammates remain unspotted. And that's why it's so important. It gives a huge advantage to you and your team versus the enemy, and I gave that advantage to my team here. And in this game I get a mastery badge, but I don't do really that much damage at all. And really why I got the mastery badge, you'll see later on when we look at the results, is because of this spotting, because I gave such a huge advantage to my team. And let that be a lesson to you, because this game is not about individual gameplay. You cannot win this game on your own. This game is about being a team player, playing for the team and playing your role. And if you are in a light tank, your role is to spot up the enemy. That really helps your teammates, particularly those with the heavier guns and slower tanks. Now I am using the dead tank here as cover. This is a little tip, a little trick to use too. Dead tanks in the battlefield cannot be penned, so therefore I'm hiding behind them, and I'm going to peek-a-boom here, or peek-a-boo, peek-a-boom. People call it different things. So basically I'm in cover, I'm only popping out to shoot, then back into cover using the hull of the dead tank. I can't be penned again. Boom, 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 3 shots, doing a lot of damage into that higher tier M7. And it's also called sneak-a-boom sometimes because you're being a bit sneaky. I'm only popping out to shoot, and then I go back in again and the enemy can't get a shot on me. So I've got my 3rd kill, and I've actually taken out 2 higher tier tanks, so I got a lot of XP for that too. Now we're looking for the last red. And what I decide to do here is I'm going with my mate here. We spot him up here, I put a shot through. You can actually shoot through those boxes, you can shoot through light cover like that. Particularly if you fire in AP shells. By the way, if you're using HE shells later on, they won't go through, so just be aware of that. And here I'm doing, what am I doing? I'm aiming as Maiming. So you see there I used my aiming circle, zoomed in to make sure that I was firing at the most vulnerable part of his tank. I was taking my time, aiming properly and not wasting my shells, which you see a lot of inexperienced players do. You saw they're constantly moving backwards and forwards when I was in the brawl with him and actually made him miss his shot too. So there you go, mastery badge. I finished top in that with 4 kills, even though I was a lower tier in that. I was up against tier 4 tanks. And here you can see why I got the mastery badge, because I spotted up or damaged nearly all of the enemy tanks, 6 out of 7 enemy tanks. And that gave me XP, base XP here of over 700, which is significantly high for a tank in tier 3. And XP is what gives you mastery badges, not damage or kills, as we've said before. Now, recap on the key points about this tank. This is a good, solid tier 3 tank. It's not the best, it's not the worst. Its main asset, its main defense is its speed. It's very fast, so use that speed and then make the map yours, as I did in that game. I was all over the map, and I used the map to spot up the reds and help my team. And when you don't just help your team, of course, but you also help yourself by getting that valuable XP. Be aware of the autoloader. It's very important. Count your shells. For example, don't go into a brawl with only 1 shell in the magazine. You will be in trouble. And if you are only on 1 shell and want to reload, double tap the shell icon to auto reload. Use APCR, have it loaded up. It does less damage but more pen. Have it loaded just in case you need it, because if you don't have it and you're up against Matilda or something, you will not be able to pen him. Keep moving. Speed is your ally. It is the 7th green in your, the 8th green in your case. Next up in this line is the M7, which is a very good tank, and I have a full review on it here. But take your time to get there. As I've said before, the biggest mistake you make is going up to a tier before you're ready, because you go beyond your skill set and you find it difficult to play, difficult to do well, difficult to make an impression, to do damage on the reds. You'll lose, your win rate will go down, and you'll get frustrated, and you'll also frustrate your teammates. So be patient in this game, get the basic skills, learn those, and then when you're ready, let's move up to the tier 4 M7, which is a great tank, and as I said, I have a full review on here. Okay, take care guys, hope you enjoyed it. Cheers Mush, see you now, bye.